Welcome to PLG Spotlight. I'm Matt Gordon. Today we're going to spotlight Derby traditions around town. We're going to make a few stops along the way. Now the Derby itself holds a lot of history, but you know what? So does Bardstown. Our first stop is Jim Cantrell, a local artist to Bardstown who was chosen as the official artist of this year's Derby. I'm sitting here with Jim Cantrell, and this year you were selected to do the artwork for the Kentucky Derby. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And this is, I believe it's the 143rd Derby this year.
143rd,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, it's right here in front of me.
Right,
And the Kentucky Oaks. All right, so now you were actually the first Kentucky artist to actually ever be selected.
First Kentucky painter, yes.
Okay, the painter. All right.
Well, they call them artists, I call them painters.
Well,
They may be artists, but the rest of them, but I'm not an artist.
Oh, you don't consider yourself an artist?
No, I still wasn't. I told them, I said, well, I haven't drawn horses for ages, and I'd have to learn how to do it, and then the time frame. They wanted by September 1st. And I said, if I do this, do I get to go to the Derby? Well, maybe we could work something out. And so they're still working on it, but I'm pretty much sure that it will get there. We may be on the roof somewhere, but it'll be the first time I've ever been to a Derby.
How did you get some of the inspiration to...
They gave me a book with a lot of... Well, they told me at that point what I could paint. I could paint the spires, the subject matter, mint juleps. I did the oaks. I did 4 or 5 of the oaks, and they didn't care for them. And I couldn't understand exactly what they wanted. And then I found out they wanted big hats and kind of loose and happy. So I made up, that's a harlequin costume that I made years ago. It's a little too big for my wife, but I put my wife in it, with clothespins in the back, put a construction helmet on her head and gave her a teapot to hold. And for the trophy, which I found out later, the trophy's much bigger than that, but they decided that'd be okay. And so that's how that came about. I mean, they'd accept that one. Yeah, they wanted a happy picture, and mine was too serious.
Yes. You know, it's a nice painting, but I really feel that the end one is the right one.
Yeah.
This was one of the early ones, and he decided.
I didn't decide.
You
I kind of
decided,
liked it.
but you decided to make it a full sheet larger,
Right.
where you could get more horses, and they agreed. They liked.
And this way, you have to please somebody, and that gets
Yeah,
a
you have
little-
somebody that keeps,
Right, and the
your-
committee, who do you please? I mean, you got
Yeah.
people in Atlanta, people in Churchill, Chicago, California, and Owensboro, and you're dealing with all these people, and they all have a different concept in their heads, and I'm trying to figure them all out. The publicity's nice.
Oh yeah, I bet. Now, I think it'll be real nice and fancy just to know that you're a part of something that only happens once a year, and especially it's Kentucky history. It's going to go down.
It's different than what I'm used to, and I like different things. I like to try new things, and I don't know if I'd do it again or not. But you only do it once. I mean, that's so I couldn't have an opportunity to find out whether I could do it again. I would like to do it again, but I'd like to, because now I know I have an idea what's going on, and it would be a lot more fun. I know how it kind of works, but it's a different experience. What I did was to do it, I would make drawings of the horse and the jockey, and then I'd photograph them, put them in Photoshop, and then I'd rearrange them, move them around to where I got what I wanted to get the angle I wanted. And then I'd print that out, draw it, and then enlarge it with the grid method. Use these things Those are wonderful tools, but very few artists use those.
Yeah.
They're proportional dividers. Blow it up and paint it.
Yeah, those are watercolor.
I have to learn how every time I get back. I leave it for a while. I can't watercolor and oil paint at the same time. I have to do one, then go back and do the other. And that one just fell into place. Growing up, my dad was a great horse lover, and in Nebraska and Oklahoma. But we just listened to it on the radio. We didn't have television.
He is the first Kentucky artist. They started the official ones in 1997, which I thought, that's only 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Leroy Neiman did the first one, and then there's been an artist from France, one from Poland. I mean, the list of different states. I was surprised when they selected an artist from Bardstown, not Louisville, where they are based.
Right.
I think we're very, very lucky.
Yeah.
You know, and not really lucky, but to think that I asked them, I said, how in the world did you select Jim? And they said, well, they had asked the Arts Council and various art museum personnel and people for recommendations. And he said when his name kept coming up, they said they decided he must be the one. We laugh and say, well, do you think your 15 minutes of fame is over and then something will happen? And, you know, you have to keep the levity of it all. I say, oh my gosh, honey, you're up to 25 minutes. You're up to 25 minutes. And then if nothing is happening, I say, oh, honey, you're down to 22.
Today we're going to be making a mint julep. Now, a lot of ways this can be done differently, but we're going to make the most basic of them for now. What you want to start off with is your mint. Try to pick your freshest that you can. If it's wilty, it's not going to muddle right. Once you get a good sprig, you want about anywhere from 6 to 8 leaves of mint. That's going to give you your best muddle. Then you're going to get a ½ ounce of simple syrup. You want to take your muddler and gently muddle. You don't want to go too much on this, because then you break up the leaves. You're basically just trying to make a mint-infused simple syrup at this point. All right. At this point, you're going to add 2½ ounces of bourbon. We're going to use our house bourbon for this. Then you're going to use crushed ice. You can buy this. You can use an ice crusher to do it. I prefer the old method. I actually just filled a bag up and beat it with a stick. You want to fill it up almost all the way to the top. At that point, you're going to take a stir. You're going to gently spin it. As you do this, you'll see it kind of move down, fill out more, and your tin will actually frost up. That lets you know you're reaching a desired temperature. Once you've done that, you're going to fill it up the rest of the way to the top. Good. Try not to make any messes. You want to get a good mound on top. Then you're going to grab a sprig for a garnish. You're going to use your stir straws. You just want to knock out a hole for your garnish to go in. Then that. Top it all off, you're going to take powdered sugar. Not a lot, just about a spoonful. And you're just going to lightly dust the top of it. And there you have it. Perfectly crafted mint julep. Then we headed over to my old Kentucky home state park, where the race was on, an exhibit on the traditions of the Kentucky Derby.
We talk about Derby fashions over here, about how the Kentucky Derby was designed with fashion and style from the beginning. It was meant to be the American counterpart to the English Derby. So people always wanted to look their best. For gentlemen, that included seersucker suits. Seersucker fabric is woven with a pucker in it, and it helps keep the cloth away from the skin, which makes a garment feel much lighter on hot summer days. At no time was a lady's hat more important than once television came on the scene, and the ladies realized they'd be viewed not only by their fellow spectators at the track, but also by friends and neighbors watching at home. The hats grew bigger and the colors grew bolder and brighter.
We got to see a Kentucky Derby trophy in addition to the beauty of my old Kentucky home's one-of-a-kind trophy that hasn't been on public display in over 30 years, the Kentucky Bowl.
Sidney Waugh, who was the sculptor, designer of the cup, he was one of the original monuments men. The rose became the symbol of the Derby relatively early in the race's history, after the founder of the race went to a post-Derby party and saw a socialite handing out flowers, red roses, to each of the debutantes. We have the trophy from the Stephen Foster Handicap. It's an important Grade 1 stakes race at Churchill Downs. It's a precursor to the Breeders' Cup Classic. The winner of the Stephen Foster Handicap gets an automatic invitation into the Breeders' Cup Classic. These are the colors of Meadow Stables, and of course their most famous horse was Secretariat. In 2010, Walt Disney Company made a feature film about Secretariat, and we have some props from that movie, including the blinkers and the halter that were worn by the horse actor who played Secretariat. A bit of film from the trailer of that movie beside it.
And as the Derby gets closer, all the shops downtown have fantastic and imaginative Derby hats that are on display. And to see those fashions from the stores go to the stage, we swing by the annual Chamber of Commerce's Derby Fashion Show.
straw jewelry, straw hat by Bardstown. Very
Thanks again for joining us on PLG Spotlight on our Derby special. I'm Matt Gordon, and I'll see you next time.